This is the Ordinary Business Podcast for business owners who want honest conversations, a lean business, and an extraordinary life on their own terms. Marissa, I'm curious if you have like a little ritual that makes you feel like, okay, I'm ready to show up for business today.
I have a couple. So I do have a dedicated morning routine where I meditate, journal. I'm a little woo, so I pull a tarot card and that kind of stuff, incorporate crystals. And then I don't have an office right now since we moved house. So I come and I sit down at this, the kitchen island, actually. I set up my microphone, and just even though that's maybe 3 minutes, it's actually like the act of setting my space up. And then I take it down at the end of the day before my kids get home from school. And I think it's kind of similar to having that office door that shuts, you know? It's that we're starting now and we're stopping now kind of feeling. So those are two things that I do.
And you have very easy access to the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm all about the snacks.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Well, I'm excited because today we're talking about how you kind of have a relationship with your business, which I thought this was such an interesting, unique thing to talk about. But before we do, can you introduce yourself and tell us more about what you do?
Yeah, I'm Marissa Lawton. I've been in the online space since 2014, and Jess was one of the first people I found.
Yes, way
and then
back.
just stayed connected ever since. And right now I run a program called Monday Meeting, which is not a content-based membership. It's an accountability container where we talk about our metrics. We sit down in co-working style and compile our metrics for the month. And then the next meeting is mentorship. So any questions or signals or red flags or green flags that your metrics gave you, we talk about them.
Ooh, very fun. I love me some metrics. So y'all better check out her program because that sounds very fun. Okay, so going back to the whole relationship with your business, when we were talking about you coming on the podcast, you said you actually used to be kind of anxiously avoidant of your business is what you said.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that looked like?
Yeah. So anxious avoidance is I'm in a previous life, I was a licensed therapist. So it's a little bit of a mentally healthy term, right? But it's I know there's dollars in my bank account. I know there's money there. I know my bills are getting paid. But if you asked me my balance, I don't know. I don't know what the dollars and cents are because if I have to go into my bank account and look at my dollars and cents, then I have to take this level of responsibility for what those dollars and cents reflect and how much Diet Dr. Pepper I drank or whatever, right? So there's that okay, I'm comfortable knowing enough, but I don't want to know too much. And this could be the number of people on your email list or the number of inquiries or referrals you're getting. I know there's people coming in, but I don't want to look at it too closely, again, because then I have to take responsibility or ownership of what I find and what I see. And I still experience this. It's something I've worked through a lot. For me, it's money triggers or just from my childhood and all of that stuff. So I've put in systems, doing this in accountability and in community makes a big difference. And even though I know the money is there again, when I have to log in and I have to pay that credit card bill and it's $6,000, $7,000. And I'm like, oh my God, I spent that on a bathroom or whatever. It freaks me out. I body double with my husband. I said, okay, it's time to pay the credit card bill. Please just sit right next to me. Just, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. You just need to sit right next to me.
Yeah.
And so it's through those, tricks or tips that I've done for myself that I kind of started doing this for other people as well.
I like that. Was there a particular moment or what was the wake up call that you're like, you know what? I need to fix this. I can't be avoiding this forever.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. Haley Dale is worked for me in my business for a long time. You might know who she is. We never defined her role. It was OBM. She just did a bunch for me, managed my podcast, managed my lead acquisition. So because I was anxious avoidant And at the same time, in the online business space, the message was, if you're a real CEO, you hire these things out, right?
Mm.
Real CEOs don't actually have their hands in that stuff. So in a kind of bad way, it gave me permission to continue to be anxiously avoidant. And I just hired for those things. And then Haley and I drew down our relationship at the end of 24 because 2025 was just a crazy year where I just made a bunch of shit up trying to figure stuff out. And I didn't even know my passwords to things.
Mm.
I was like, Haley, how do I log into XYZ? How do I log into that? And she's like, oh, let me check your LastPass for you and get your password. Because I didn't even know how to log into my things. I had been that far removed that when it was time to turn things off, long-time subscriptions, things, I didn't even know how. And I was like, oh, this is an issue. I have like
Yeah.
fed the beast here so much, and the industry, I can't blame it 100%, but I felt permission from the industry to do that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, yep, that's not
Mhm.
going to work anymore.
I have outsourced my bookkeeping
Mhm.
for, I don't even know, 5, 6 years now. And this year I'm no longer doing that. One, just to like save some money. And
Yeah,
my bookkeeping is very simple.
me
Like
too.
it's
Me too.
so simple. And I was like, I don't know that I actually need to be doing this. And I had been kind of disconnected from my
Mhm.
expenses, and I was paying for a software that I didn't even know I was paying for,
Mhm.
because again, I was getting the high level report, profit and loss, like saw the numbers, but it wasn't like, here's all the things you're paying for each month. So while I'm like, I mean, I don't love doing my bookkeeping,
Yeah.
it does feel like, okay, now I'm going to feel like more connected back to my business.
Percent.
And I've also heard a lot of people who say, like, before I hire someone, I want to know how to do it myself.
Yes.
Which I think for a lot of things really makes sense. Some things, like I remember someone even said that about like their website. They're like, I want to know how to
Mhm.
do website design before I outsource it. And I was like, I don't I don't think you need to do
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
but
I'm not anti-hiring at all, and I put Haley in this position.
right,
That's not the way
right.
she wanted to work. It's not the way she expected. It was something I did, right? I think hiring is great if, your business supports it and a lot of the things that we talk about on this show. Um, and I don't think you necessarily have to know how to do it, but I think that you need to know what you want from it.
Mhm.
You need to be familiar and have a relationship, a strong enough relationship with your business to know what your website needs to do for you. That doesn't mean you need to learn Java or code or anything like that. Like, you don't need that skill set, but you need to know, this is what my website does for me. This is how I want it to bring in clients. This is how I operate. This is what I want my revenue streams to be, etc.
You don't need more tools or tactics. You need a simple way to focus on what actually matters. That's why the Ready Network exists, to help founders and teams cut through complexity and lead with clarity and confidence. Through a repeatable planning framework and executive coaching, the Ready Network supports sustainable growth without burnout or hustle culture. Learn more with founder Holly Tate at the Ordinary Business Summit. Yeah, I agree. Now that you are, like, okay, I have a relationship with my
Right.
business, because that kind of sounds weird. People are like,
Yeah.
this is an inanimate object. What are you
Right.
talking about? Like, you have a relationship with your business. Like,
Well, it's
do
true,
we need to
but
call for help?
yeah.
Like,
I use that example though, like, we're married and some of the people listening are going to be partnered as well. But even if you're not, like, you've probably been in a relationship before. If my husband came in the door and grunted at me, like, I'm like, hi, how are you? And he's like, meh, and goes in the bedroom and shuts the bedroom door, doesn't speak to me all night, expects me to have food for him, and then eats the food, and then again goes back in the bedroom door, shuts the door, and then goes to sleep. We would not be married, right? We would not be together for very long. And so it's the same expectations that we have for our business. Um, poop me out money because I said so, take care of me, and I'm not going to give anything back to you. I'm not going to understand you. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to relate with you anyway. And yes, it is an inanimate object, but I still think like checking in and having touch points and
Mhm.
um being able to spot signals. I think a lot of us, myself included, were caught off guard by the recent market downturn
Mhm.
because we weren't relating with our business enough. There were probably signals months and months before we even started to feel like a pinch, but we didn't know how to read them. We weren't in communication. We weren't in relationship with our
Mhm.
business.
Yes. So what does like a check-in or a CEO day kind of look for you now?
Yeah, I have this kind of like rhythm. I like to think annual vision and then quarterly plans, monthly goals, weekly tasks.
Oh,
So if
I
you're
really like that.
it breaks it down, right, and makes it more digestible than, "Oh, I want this year," right?
Mhm.
So, I do believe in the annual vision, and we're recording early in 2026, so a lot of people probably just did this or maybe it's still time to do this, but create an annual vision for your business. That could include revenue and all that, but, like, other thing, how many people do you wanna serve? What do you want your products and your services to feel like? What results do you want to give? That kind of stuff is great for annual. And then quarterly, sit down and say, okay, what's my plan to achieve that? If for you, it's like, okay, I want to do 10 websites this year, whatever. And it's quarter two and you've only done one. Well, you've got 9 more to do. So,
Mhm.
what's your plan starting in this quarter to book 9 more sites or whatever? So, you can get a little more tasky in the quarterly plan. And then a monthly goal. All right, my monthly goal is I want to book 3 for this quarter. So, my monthly goal is I know I need to be talking to 6 people to book 3. So, this month, I need to be talking to at least 2 people, right? So you can
Mhm.
quantify it a little bit more. And then weekly plan. Okay, I want to talk to 2 people this month, so my weekly plan is to reach out to my previous referral sources this week or something
Mhm.
like that. So it takes it from that vision and makes it much more concrete.
Yes. This also reminds me, I just saw a Threads post
Hmm,
this week that was breaking this down kind of similar. I don't think hers was like quarterly, monthly,
yeah.
and everything, but it was basically like, okay, I want, I don't know, 50 or 100 members to join. So I know that my average conversion rate on a website is like 1 to 3%.
Mhm.
And I get X number of monthly views per month on my website. So I actually need to increase how many views I get.
Mhm, mhm.
And so she's like, I know that typically when I post, like a slide on Insta story or something, I get 2 clicks or whatever it was.
Right.
Okay, well, so then I'm going to need to post that 3 times a week or whatever it was. Again, very
Yeah.
loosely, 3 times a week so that I get X number of people per week, ideally, or per month, and then convert them,
Mhm.
like get on my email list and convert, and I was like, I love all the data, but
Yeah,
I feel like this is a great example of like being in relationship with your
exactly.
business and knowing the data.
Mhm.
And I also know that people listening are like, that's a lot of numbers
Right.
to track. And I'm
Right.
not saying you have to know all of them, but I think even just knowing at the bare minimum, like, yes, average conversions from your website, from a sales page are like in the 1 to 3% range. Cause I feel like a lot of people are just like, I want 10 clients.
Right.
So I'm going to send an email and a Threads post and hope that 10 people
Right.
come in the door.
That or they, like, hit the gas pedal so hard and they book 7, and then they're exhausted and they never book the other 3, whereas there could have been a whole different approach to that.
Mhm.
But I think what you're hitting the nail on the head and which is why I'm doing the work I'm doing is because we need to know those metrics,
Mhm.
right? The conversion rate, the, engagement rate, like these numbers that you were dripping out, you can make much more concrete plans if you have those actual facts and
Mhm.
figures versus like nebulous or arbitrary goals, arbitrary plans that aren't grounded. And I think you also made a really good point too. There's industry standard and there's your business.
Mhm.
Some people blow industry standard out of the water. Some people don't quite reach industry standard, and that's
Yeah.
okay because it's your business's standard. If
Mhm.
you're converting at 0.5% or 0.75%, but that's what you always convert at. You're not hitting that 1% of industry, but that's your business's normal and that's totally fine. We can work with that. I like to do 4 categories. So
Mm.
for people who are like, "Oh, this feels a little like a lot," lead acquisition, which if you're in a volume-based business is going to be I mean, it's important no matter what, but if you're in a done for you service or whatever and you may only need 10 clients a year, lead acquisition is lower than your like I
Mhm.
wouldn't say lower priority, but lower necessity.
Yeah.
And then engagement, nurture, again, a done for you service, that's going to be more important than somebody in a low ticket business.
Mhm.
And then sales and conversions and profit, that's kind of what we've been a little bit talking about here. But then there's lifestyle metrics. This one's important too, because this is like your energy, your capacity, how many hours you worked, and that kind of stuff. And so even if all of the other 3 metrics are rocking, you're miserable or you're sick all the time or whatever, then in my opinion, and it's kind of strong, but in my opinion, you don't have a successful business at that point,
Mm.
right? Like I feel like your business is only successful when it funds a well-lived life and a
Yes.
healthy, enjoyed life, right?
Mhm. Yes, and I wholeheartedly agree. Like, there's absolutely, like, hopefully small seasons of, like, hustle, extra hours, like, "Oh, I'm launching a podcast," like, you might have to put in a little bit extra work, but, like, that should not in my what you said, and I agree, like, it does not need to dictate your life and control your
Right.
life, like,
Right.
I don't know about you, but I got into this, yes, because I love design, but also because I wanna have more flexibility,
Right.
and so I will make less money because I'm not willing to, like, work longer hours.
Right.
So, now you mentioned letting go of your team,
Mhm.
going back to everything yourself.
Yeah.
And for some people, that would be, like, terrifying and, like, well, how am I gonna, like, do everything? So,
Mhm.
what made you realize that this was the right move for you?
Yeah. Um, I think listeners should know that I did this gradually. This
Mm.
wasn't like overnight thing. I had run a really in-depth 9-month group program for 8 years. And the last year was 2024. In 2023, I was like, okay, oof, like I'm getting toward burnout, right? I ran it for 1 more year. And then I had 3 contractors, Haley and I, who I've mentioned already, and then a copywriter who worked inside my program and a designer who worked inside my program and supported the students. And then I was still meeting with the students twice a week for 9 months. So it was a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and through 2024, I let everybody know, okay, I'm not doing this program anymore. So the 2 support roles in there knew well ahead of time that their role was ending. And I was able to know that they didn't do anything for me on the operations side. So those 2 were okay. And then
Mhm.
Haley and I like had to work together on drawing down. Again, I didn't even know my passwords. And so I threw together kind of a bridge program, I guess, for 2025. It was like this mastermind of like, it didn't have a problem and promise. It was just like, hey, if anybody wants support for their business in 2025, this is what I'm doing. And of course, almost everybody who joined was a previous client. So they'd already worked with me and they were already familiar.
Mhm.
And so at that point, Haley and I weren't doing anything together in 2025. I wasn't creating any content. I wasn't marketing. I wasn't selling anything because I hadn't really decided my next direction. And then in July of 2025, again, I'm a little woo, in the shower goddesses gave me Monday meeting, fully formed, exactly what it was going to look like, my marketing, everything. And I was like, thank you. So from July to now, slowly, I've been building things.
Mm.
Slowly, I wrote the sales page. Slowly, I built the sales page. I just did a beta launch to a wait list. in a couple weeks ago. So it's been a gradual rollout. If I had just, like, stopped everything overnight and tried to start something else, there's no way I
Right.
could have done it without some sort of support or some sort of, like, thought of what I was doing. So I
Yeah.
think people do need to know that. But yes, the intimacy, the relationship is back because I'm hands-on. I'm elbows deep in everything again. I'm editing my own show again. These things that I haven't done since maybe 2018, 2019. And am I starting to get a little overwhelmed, especially because I have other projects going on? Yes. But I also really like it too.
Mhm.
And it's not a control thing. I wanna make that clear. It's not like I'm white knuckling it or like I'm having to control every aspect. It's building a familiarity
Mm.
with every aspect again, and so that's a
Yes.
little different.
Okay, so for someone who's listening and they are realizing they also are kind of avoiding, maybe they feel disconnected from things, what's like a simple way that you think they could start, quote unquote, relating to their
Mhm.
business again?
The first thing I would do is sit down and see if you still remember your ideal customer or if your ideal customer has changed, because that could very well be true, and map out what that customer's journey is. How do they become aware of you? Do they grab an opt in? Do they follow you on social? Like, what's the awareness, the lead acquisition? What do they typically need from you to build trust, especially because we're in like a trust recession right now? So what do they need to build trust with you to consider purchasing from you? And then what happens once they inquire or once they purchase or whatever? Really sit with that customer journey first, and I think you'll reconnect with a lot of what your
Mm.
business needs and what you want from your business and what you need to do to get your business to where you want it. I think just mapping that out can be a really good starting point.
Yes, I like that. I also have an episode from a few months ago about doing market research.
Mhm.
So for anyone who's like, I don't even know. Like, if you feel like you're so disconnected and you need some of this customer information, do some market research calls. I have an episode where I like talk about that and how I do it. I feel like that can also give you some insight if you're like,
Mhm.
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I think this is such an important conversation and something for us to really, think about in 2026. So, where can we connect with you online and also learn more about Monday Meeting?
So my handle on everything is Hey Marissa Lawton. I'm mostly on Threads, thanks to Jess, actually.
Yes.
Um, but I do spend a little time on Instagram. I don't post, but I do stories. And my website is just my name, marissalawton.com. You can join the waitlist right in the main navigation for Monday Meeting. I also have a dashboard that I've set up with these 4 categories, and that's just marissalawton.com/dashboard, which could be really helpful for you. It's got graphic representation and numerical representation. So if you're a visual person or if you're a numbers person, it can support you either way.
Amazing. Okay, so fun. I will link that in the show notes so y'all can check it out. But thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.